Rooster and the villain, Rooster and the villain, yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Rooster and the Villain. I am Una Emery. No, I'm Jimmy Karn, and I'm joined again by Jake Kenneke, our resident seagull. Jake, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right. Cleaning ladies here, so I am outside recording in this balmy 43-degree weather.
I mean,
I
it's
have leader of the Desert Seagulls, if you could see her, Lupe.
indeed.
She got a lot of praise on Blue Sky after the game this past week for wearing her scarf.
Nice. Sweet girl. Well,
Yeah.
good, man. So yeah, a little midweek catch up here. I know we're missing Mike, but a little peek behind the curtain, a little midday recording during the week, so nothing wrong with that.
He's
But a lot of soccer going on right now. We're back into European competitions this week. We got FA Cup is live in action, and Premier League continues to be just an absolute clusterfuck behind Liverpool. So, um, yeah, where do you want to start today?
um. Well, I mean, we're here, so we can pick between our two teams neck and neck in the standings. Villa with 36 points, Brighton with 34, fighting for those European spots. I was gonna say Mike's probably busy enjoying the Spurs right now. Um, right as we started recording, Son I think scored his second goal of the game. Just an absolute beauty. That guy is so fucking good.
For sure. You know what Mike needs a good game. I know as much as Spurs have been struggling with injuries and form in the Premier League, getting another win in Europa League, they're pretty much, guaranteed to make to the knockout. I know they're still fighting for a top eight spot, which would be huge for them considering the injuries. But yeah, shout out to Mike. Hopefully he's having a little bit better day. He's facing a little bit of an existential crisis, so I can't wait to get him onto our therapy couch.
Absolutely.
No,
Um,
I was to say
oh,
to
go ahead.
your point, I'll let you get into Brighton here in a second, but just kind we talked about the table. Arsenal and Nottingham Forest at second and third at 44 points, but really then you go to that fourth spot, which is Chelsea right now at 40 points, all the way down to Brighton and Hove Albion at ninth at 34 points. We're only talking about two games separating those spots, so really, I mean, even if you include Fulham into that conversation, there's seven teams vying for that fourth spot. And I know that that is the only guaranteed safe. Chances are with math that fifth spot is going to be a Champions League spot this year, but can never count on that. But it's going to be a really interesting race going into the season amongst all those teams. You have your standards like Villa finished top four last year. Brighton and Hove Albion have been up there, like our teams, but also Newcastle United has had good seasons the last couple of years. Man City and Chelsea, but then you got some newcomers like Bournemouth and like I mentioned, Fulham pushing for that top four. So it'll be fun to watch as we go into the stretch here. And it's between now and May is some of my favorite time of the year for football.
Yeah, absolutely. People that I've heard, I guess MLS stands and as an argument for their non-pro rel system. They talk about, just boring leagues. Well, City wins every year, but the excitement of those middle spots, those lower European tiers, the fight for that, the relegation fights, it just makes European football just so much more fun than anything else. It's that obviously, like Liverpool. No, I don't know if anyone can catch Liverpool. I had high hopes for Arsenal to do it. I mean, I think we both picked them to win the league, right?
Yeah, we
Both of
did.
us. Yeah, and it just they they seem to just like that meme of the guy sticking his own stick in his wheel spokes of his bike, and then he's like, why did the refs do this? That's
For sure.
Arsenal. But the competition for those European spots, especially the last ones, like the Conference League spots, are going to be super competitive. In the words of the Hornets basketball announcers, Fulham, they won't go away. Bournemouth is tough. It's been fun to see their rise. Newcastle, the Saudi money is slowly taking effect. Chelsea figures it out and then doesn't figure it out. This has been one of the more fun seasons in recent memory. I've really enjoyed this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think from a neutral perspective, just as like a soccer fan, I would say that I can turn on almost any Premier League game right now amongst, any of the 20 teams, and it's going to be generally a pretty interesting watch. We don't have a whole lot of pragmatic teams right now. Like everyone is, really leaning into that like uh forward thinking style of football. RIP Sean Dyche, from Everton. That might have been our last real park the bus type manager. But yeah, it's just been really fun to watch and getting some crazy results. I'm not a bettor, but if I was, trying to actually pick games and spreads and stuff like that for the Premier League right now would be challenging, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I've held off on picking games as of late after my Webster debacle, but we still got the dub in that one. But I guess that's a perfect transition to cover Brighton a little bit. I don't think in the last episode when we had Ian on from Moco Spurs, shout out, good episode with him. I don't know if I covered the Ipswich match, so I'll just do that briefly. Brighton giving up the charity club moniker for a day, taking them out pretty handedly. 2-0 win over Ipswich, goals from Matoma and Reuter. Reuter is coming on as a real stud. It was great to see him start doing his thing. Hertzler seemed to have lost a little trust in him over the past few weeks. I don't necessarily know what happened, but he's come in and he's scored in I want to say it's got to be like 3 matches in a row. He's got 4 goals in 3 matches, which is really, really good. So yeah, just to brush over that one to get to the one I really, really want to talk about. As I said before, our new whipping boys in the Premier League, we dusted Manchester United. I don't know if anyone went back and listened to, or if anyone just listened to it in real time. Mark Goldbridge's coverage, it was, fantastic. Just yelling at Onana the whole time, which we can get more into their struggles. I kind of want to just focus on Brighton because we're going to have a little bit of a talk about Jimmy's former club later on. But Minte opens up the scoring. Beautiful assist from Matoma. And then, of course, United gets a penalty against us. It seems to be a trend. Fernandez finishes that off. And then to open up the second half, Brighton came back out ready and willing to do what it took. Matoma scores, and then Reuter scores off just a horrible nightmare mistake from Onana. Guy couldn't control sort of a wayward cross from Ayari. Bounces off his hands. Reuter, again, going back to what they teach you in youth soccer, follow the shot. Soccer, basketball, it's the same thing. Follow the shot. You never know what might happen. Ball comes off his hands. Reuter sticks to it and hammers it home. 3-1 win for Brighton and Hove. United actually controlled the ball more than us. Our XG was higher. We had 4 less shots than them and around 30 less passes than them. But overall, I don't really. I'm nervous watching any game, but I felt less nervous watching that game than any other game. United center backs wanted to get a little fight in them when they were down 3-1. João Pedro went down. Maguire, you could see him as the camera's kind of moving away as United brings the ball up. You see him yell at a fallen Pedro. And then Yoro gets into it with who did he yell at? Oh, he decided to yell at Solly March. Yeah, and it's like, dude, like where was this the whole match? You want to get mad now? Like, no. And then honestly, the best highlight of the whole thing, if you guys want to go back and watch any highlight, it's it's Baleba doing the gritty with a extremely dejected looking Bruno Fernandes behind him going, yeah. Bruno Fernandes looks like he's about to cry. Who was it? What's his name? Raj, the guy Raj. What's his Men in Blazers? Yeah, Men in Blazers hid the Instagram description was he widowy did the gwitty on Bruno Fernandes.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, we you might as well just change Old Trafford to Amex too, because we own that place as well. So do you have any comments about the game? Because I mean, there's not a lot more to really cover on it. Dunk looked good, Van Hecke looked good. Veltman is climbing up the ranks. Obviously, Dunk and guys like Dunk and Glenn Murray, Zamora, like they're always going to be up there for me. Veltman is very, very quickly climbing the ranks of my favorite Brighton player ever. That guy is fundamentally sound, a shithouse when he needs to be. He doesn't get beat, and he's just so smart. Like, he's not a guy that's going to be like a human highlight reel, but he does everything right. All the little things right. He does them right, and he's always on our winning squads, it seems like. That guy is the best, man. I love him, and I really hope he gets extended.
For sure. No, just echoing the development statement. It is wild to think that a couple years ago that Lamptey was mentioned as like a potential target for like Bayern Munich, right? Like as a right back. And obviously I don't think it's just been play. I think there's a lot of injuries going on there too. He can't stay healthy. But Veltman has been far and away the best right back. And even more so than Lamptey, another guy who got hurt this year and hadn't played a lot of right back, but I thought would push for that spot was Hinchelwood. So like Veltman's really taken that and made his own. You guys are a different defense when he hasn't been available. So yeah, definitely a shout out to him. I think the other thing I just want to mention is just seeing him fully healthy again, just how promising of a talent Yankuba Minte is. That assist that he had to Matoma, it was just a perfectly weighted and placed ball, like too far out for the keeper to get it. He had to get it in front of Yoro so that Matoma could touch that in. Just a fantastic player. I'm not surprised that he keeps Ruder off the starting lineup, but with him, Welbeck and Matoma up front your offense is much more lethal from a finishing standpoint. You guys were still correct, making expected goals when Welbeck was out, but with those three guys along the front, I think that's your best starting three right now. So hats off to you guys. You guys definitely bossed that game at Old Trafford. You guys haven't lost to them since you came back up, right, in 2018 or whatever it was.
We've lost, I think, to them once or twice. I know one of them was like a bullshit after everyone had cleared the field penalty decision.
Okay.
And then I think we got beat last year.
They had some sort of stat. Maybe it was at Old Trafford. You guys haven't lost since you came back up or something like that. But at any rate, a great win for you guys gets you right back up. I know that not that you guys are losing, just like the ties were kind of piling up a little bit. Getting 3 points is great, especially against United always. So kind of my final thoughts on Brighton for sure.
Yeah, last thing real quick. Well, you're absolutely right about the Welbeck Pedro combination, because it allows Pedro to go further back to pick the ball up. And Welbeck is, like, everyone talks about the 10 dying out. Sometimes it feels like the target man is dying out, and Welbeck has performed that role like perfectly. He can hold the ball up, he can wait, and then boom, pass to Matoma. He's so smart on the ball. I mean, that comes with age and experience or whatever. But, you know, in a team full of kids, essentially, him as like a 33-year-old elder statesman is just fucking fantastic. But yeah, that Minte pass, I believe, was an outside of the foot pass. Like he chipped it with curve on it to Matoma. But again, that's another thing. I think a better goalkeeper could have stopped that. But we'll get into that later.
Well, I know it was the inside of the foot, and that's what made it so special. Is that he came around and wrapped the ball around with his left foot, so that it curved, like it was curving like towards the goal, but the arc would have been far enough out that the goalie wasn't gonna make it. If that's inside the foot, that ball is arcing in, and Onana could have made a play. So that's, but yeah, however he played it, it was inch perfect. It was really well done. And no, I wasn't going to stop you. I was just going to ask if you wanted to, if you had any like upcoming fixtures you wanted to kind of mention before.
So got to get a win at Everton. One that I'm probably not going to wake up for, but I wish I probably could. 5:30 in the morning on February 1st against Nottingham Forest. That's a game that's going to be a real test. And then we get Chelsea twice in a row, once in the FA Cup and once in the league. Both are going to be at the Amex.
Your favorite.
Yes, I want to eliminate them, and then I want 3 points. It's you have to beat them. That's a game you have to win. But yeah, Nottingham Forest I think is going to be a really, really good test, because that's sort of another team that, I mean, obviously 2-time European champions, but that was before either of us were born. But that's a club I kind of think of in the same terms as Brighton, which is like, you know, they spend some time in the lower leagues. They're up now, and what are you going to do about it? So we gotta get a win against them, I think, for confidence sake. But yeah, Chelsea, those are must wins. You have to win knock them out of the cup, hilarious. Beat them in the league, hilarious.
Let me ask you a question about Chelsea. You don't have to go into terrible detail if you don't want to, but I know from like a club historical perspective, right, that like Crystal Palace is very much a hated rival, and I know you've talked about it in the past about like some of the weird intricacies of that rivalry, but all the same, hated rival. And I've heard you echo those sentiments whenever we talk about Palace. However, in Jake's personal record book, what feels better to you at the end of the day? A win over Crystal Palace or a win over Chelsea?
That's tough. I think I'm still going to say Palace, because I think that's going to remain. We haven't had a transfer saga with them, I think, in a season, for like a full season now, so it hasn't been that big of a deal. I haven't had to deal with their fans, but it's just Chelsea is more of a, as it approaches, I think about it, and I'm like, okay, like the fans, I remember their fans, how annoying they were. You you owe us this player because you're not Chelsea Football Club, kind of thing. So that was what was irritating about it. Palace is, I mean, like the people that I talked to as I was becoming a fan, like I went on Reddit or whatever to try to find out about it. And the people that I talked to on Reddit were like, you have to hate Palace. You gotta. It's part of the thing. So I was like, okay, I hate Palace. And then, but yeah, Chelsea, I think there's eventually going to come a time when it reignites, because they're going to want somebody. I think Baleba, they'll probably target Baleba eventually. And then it'll get fucking annoying again.
Fair enough. All right, let's pivot. Do a little Aston Villa catch up here. I won't go back too far. I know it's been a little bit since I've been on with you guys. I'm just going to start back at last weekend. Saturday game, 12:30 game. Come out with a 2-2 tie against Arsenal. I think for a lot of reasons I am happy with that as a result. Mostly because, I thought we were going to have a letdown, especially after coming off a really not that convincing win against Everton a couple days before. And Arsenal, we did, sort of pip them at the end of last year. It really hurt their title chase, if you will. Um, but honestly, most of the time when we play Arsenal, I'm happy with the tie. That having been said, this one felt even better just because we went down 2-0, early in the second half, and sort of fight back from two down. The header goal from Yuri was amazing. Luka Dean, beautiful ball into the box, off that left foot to get the goal going, and then you know, not that long later to get the tying goal. It came against the run of play a little bit. Honestly, Arsenal bossed us for most of that game. Losing Onana early in that game to injury had a big impact on our midfield. I would also say, hats off to Bogard, and his name will come back up later in this podcast, but he played really well coming in as a center midfielder. We're really thin at that position right now, with Onana and Barkley being hurt. So, all things considered, coming off of that game 2-2, getting a point and being done is great. So I'm glad we got that result. But that took us into Tuesday. Traveled to.
Hold up. The Havertz disallowed goal. What was your opinion on that? Obvious handball, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't obvious handball, but I think we've talked about this. Like our good friend Matt Babel is an Arsenal fan, and so I'd been texting with him throughout the game, and when that happened, like when the first one in, I was like, shit, it was in the 87th minute or something like that when it happened. And I was like, that's got to be game. He's like, I don't know. Let's take a look at it. And he goes, no, it's going to get called back. I'm like, I understand the letter of the law. Again, super harsh. It sucks. Like, if I was an Arsenal fan, it would be one of those things where I'd say that sucks a lot. It's a stupid rule, but at least they called it by the letter of the law. So for that, for those purposes, yeah, it's stupid, but also it is what it is. You can't go directly off the arm into the goal. So,
and then last question about it. Obviously I had rose-colored glasses when he was on Brighton. Has Trossard always been a prick?
I feel like it's more just like maybe he's always been, feisty, but like because he plays for Arsenal now, it can just kind of really come out.
God,
but
he's
yeah,
a dick.
Who was it he squared up? Was it Morgan Rogers that he was like went like nose to nose with at one point? I'm like,
I think
Morgan
so.
Rogers is like twice your size. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I respect his talent, but like to me, he is the guy that you want coming on in the 60th minute. He's not a starter for me, not for a top club like Arsenal, but he does the dirty work when he's in there, and for that reason, he's a good super sub. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't worry me that much. He is what he is. He's Leandro Trossard. At any rate, so we come off the Arsenal result and we head to the Principality on Tuesday for a visit to Monaco, a team that is also at the time that they're coming to that game, they were just outside the top 8 for Champions League. And they had also been the only loss Barcelona has in the Champions League this year was against Monaco. So like domestically, they've been kind of struggling. In fact, they lost to Montpellier, which is like the last place team in Ligue 1, at the weekend. But they're at home and it's Europe, so weird things happen. They got an early goal that honestly was a good setup from a corner play. I can't remember who got into the first header, but Martinez did anything he could just get a hand on it, but the ball popped straight up and he's on his back. So the second defender comes in, puts it in, goal. And they had a couple other opportunities in that first half, but honestly, so did we. There's a couple that bounced through. One was a fist ball from Buendia that Ollie Watkins kind of inadvertently touched, went into Bailey's path, and he had a wide open hit. But as he was hitting it, he like fell down, so it popped up to the keeper's hands, and he was just able to parry it away. And then Watkins also had an opportunity right at the end of the half where, again, the keeper made a good save, but it's one that should be finished. So really missed opportunities, and not really capitalizing kind of hurt us. And so a 1-0 loss. Is it the end of the world? No. I would, obviously pie in the sky to finish top 8 would have been beyond my wildest dreams, but we're still very much on path to advance. we control, not necessarily control our destiny, but Leverkusen's the only team that's ahead of us at our same point total. They have a 1 goal better goal differential than we do. So like, you never know what could happen um going into the final week. We play Celtic coming up at home. If we can get a big win, even if Leverkusen wins, maybe we can jump them to get that top 8. But the fact is, I think we're pretty well safe to go through. And that's where I wanted to be at the beginning of the year. So I'm not going to say now that it needs to be top 8 or nothing. I'm just happy that we're moving on in the competition. So exciting times as far as that goes. And then I think for other fixtures outside of that, before we play Celtic next Wednesday, we are at home again against West Ham. So Graham Potter and them boys coming back to visit. And then after Celtic, then we have, I guess, whatever we can call as our West Midlands rival right now, just because of lack of teams in the West Midlands. But Wolverhampton, we play them at Molyneux, and then we followed up on February 9th with a home game in the FA Cup against Mike and Tottenham. So there'll be some good ones coming up. I'd love to continue to beat West Ham, though they should start to figure out what they got here with Graham Potter. They should start. I think you're going to see a different West Ham team than what we saw against them in the FA Cup a week or two ago. And then, like I said, Celtic has been playing well in the Champions League, so they're not a given, even though we're at home. But to get 3 points from that would go a long way to, like I said, getting that top 8 spot. So we'll just have to kind of see what the next few weeks bring. We gotta get some people healthy, honestly. But we'll talk about that in our transfer segment here in a little bit.
I watched this game. At least the majority of the first half and then into the second half. I think Dean's reaction getting subbed off was fitting. It's just one of those games where nothing goes right. And I'm sure we've both experienced in our prestigious careers as amateur footballers, we've both experienced matches like that. But if I could just describe the match in any way, it's just constipation. It just felt like nothing was going right. But yeah, I mean, you guys, like, I don't think anybody necessarily played bad. Fop Mob had, a lot of 7s, close to an 8 for Cash, but it just didn't click, and that sucks. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard playing in someone else's stadium, and
even though it's real wine and cheese crowd though in Monaco. It was like a half full stadium.
I would kill to play there. Like if I would love to live and be a star in Monaco. That would just be incredible.
It is wild to think that, like, I mean, just looking back at players that have come like through Monaco the last, the obvious ones like Mbappe and Thierry Henry, right? But also a guy in my team, Yuri Telemans, played there for 2 seasons. They've had a lot of good players come through there. They're obviously a big French club, but they tend to just move players through. But yeah, to your point, who wouldn't want to be 22, 23, a millionaire professional athlete living in Monaco? Like, long before people wanted to go get that Saudi money. I mean, you still gotta live in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I'd rather take quite a bit less and fucking live in Monaco. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. I will say the other thing I want to mention about Aston Villa is just sort of a one-off statement, but the Deloitte Football Money League just released their most recent top 20 rankings for highest revenue generating clubs globally for the past year, and Aston Villa made the list as the 18th highest revenue generating club. So I think what we're starting to finally see with Villa, and I think some of these other clubs are also trying to do the same thing, right? Where you have some of these clubs that are like sleeping giants. I mean, Aston Villa plays in Birmingham, second biggest city in England. They have a huge following. They have like a very big stadium that's also expanding. They're starting to play well, so they're picking up more fans internationally. They're going to start tapping into some of this sleeping giant, and as they can generate revenue and continue to grow the club, it's going to allow us to make more of these fun transfers and stuff like that, and really keep us, keep us in that top 10 discussion year in and year out. And that's kind of my hope. So it's uh, from a business sense as an American, yeah, it's hard for me to ignore those sort of things, but I understand the need for the money as it applies to the growth of the club. So I thought that was a good indicator of how the ownership group has done the last 6 or 7 years since they bought Villa. So
I mean, you're getting that money. Just saying, Bellingham's from the West Midlands, so
yeah, I don't got
maybe.
that kind. I don't got that kind of money. I also do you know that Bellingham plays for Real Madrid, who reportedly last calendar year made over $1 billion in revenue by themselves,
Oh shit.
which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
That is so yeah. So yeah, we don't got Real Madrid fuck you money. That's a different level. So
So all right, I guess we can move on to the segment that everyone loves, our top fives.
yes, this
You
one
want
was
to tell?
hard. This one was hard. Yeah.
I
So yeah, go ahead.
I want to say I had a hard time with this one because we're not necessarily a big January transfer club. It's like we had our club record transfer this summer over 200 million, and I think Tony Bloom's like, okay, like calm down, make it fucking work.
So I will say that my mental approach to this wasn't just for January. It was
Mm,
just in general. So what our goal was with this top five, let you in behind the scenes here, is we wanted to make a top five of reasonable transfers for our clubs, whether that's sales, or purchases or loans for that matter. And so Jake sounds like it might be a little more January focused. Mine is more just like in this current bubble. If I got to make these transfers, these are ones that I think that would be great for Villa. So that's kind of the approach. As always, we'll start with two OLIs or one OLI, and sometimes we'll do our OLIs first, and then we'll do 5 through 1, and we'll just alternate back and forth. So that having been said, if you'd like to, do you have two or one OLI?
I got one. If you got two, you can
Okay.
go first.
All right, I'm gonna kick it off. And this one is not intended to be a shocker, but my first OLI is to sell Tyrone Mings. And
I'll take him. I'll take him.
I'm sure you would. And here's the thing, like I don't think he's a bad player, but he's not a starter. Like he's
Yeah.
only starting right now because Torres is hurt. He's also 32 going on 33. And honestly, the goal that we gave up, to Monaco came off of him making a bad pass, led to their opportunity led to the corner, which they scored off of. And then also the infamous Club Brugge goal, however you say that team, where he incidentally picked it up. So like this little shit like that, on top of the fact that he is an aging asset, it doesn't mean that I don't like him as a person. I'm just saying that it's a position that we could stand to sell him while he still has some value, and also bring in a younger player, which is sort of the direction the club is headed right now with most of our signings. So first OLI for me was Tyrone Mings.
So my OLI is something that's already happened as far as going away, but I want to take it a step further. Julio Enciso on loan to Ipswich. I want him sold. So I guess this can go into the summer as well. I hope that he has a good season at Ipswich, and I kind of just want to get him away from the club. There's been a lot of like there was one Instagram post or whatever where it wasn't just a pair like Paraguayan fans. It was like the English fans as well saying like, oh, this is such a bad move. Why are you sending him to someone who might get relegated? It'll do awful for his confidence. In that situation, I think you have to be a businessman and realize like, okay, I'm going to this team. I need to get mine and do my best, obviously, to help them stay up. But I need to go to this club to get mine. And I think that's what he's going to do, because if anybody goes out, to use a pro wrestling term, to get their shit in, it's Julio and Ciso. He scored that goal against Norwich, and it seemed like all these people were forgetting the million shots before that he sent into the upper deck, or every pass he's misplaced. I think it'd be best for him to go elsewhere. And if he has a good season, whatever potential people are talking about, and I sometimes see glimpses of, I think he's a target for us to sell as opposed to someone to develop and keep, because I don't think he's going to develop in the way we want him to.
That's fair. I know you've kind of mentioned that a little bit less, really all season that you've done with him. So I could see that. Although I think that, he might fit in better on a different club. So, you just got to find the right buyer for him. I think there's value there. So makes sense. My other OLI, and the reason I moved it to OLI is because this name has been picking up a ton of traction lately. But it's one that I've been saying annoyingly probably since Brighton played against them. But for me, the other OLI is Tyler Dibling from Southampton. He really plays out wide on the right-hand side where we could use some more depth. I love Leon Bailey. He is really, I don't know, in his own head this year. Kind of a shadow of his ability, the way he showed out last year. So, bringing in someone else on that right side to really play that role, especially him being 18. He's incredible with the ball at his feet. I've seen him make really good passes and stuff like that. Big, strong kid. I think that he would be excellent. I was excited to see that Villa has been at least credited with registering an interest. That haven't been said. Some of the clubs that are going to start coming in for him that have been mentioned for him have a lot more buying power than Villa does. So I don't know that we'll see him with Villa, but one that I still wanted to mention just because I think he'd be an excellent fit and get a lot of playing time. So Tyler Dibling was a purchase that I thought Villa should make. My other OLI.
He's a little prick, but he is good. He's a little shithead, man.
He's 18. I mean,
yeah. Him against Brighton, it was just one of those things where it's like, fuck, he's fucking good. And then he'd bow up to somebody. It's like, no, fuck you, you little asshole. So my number 5 is my only other out because I like most everyone else on the team. And I not to say I don't like this guy, but I like everyone else on the team. And it was just little additions I wanted for the club. But my number 5 is Evan Ferguson to Celtic on loan. Good Irish Catholic boy to a team that would really, truly appreciate him. He's got to get the ankle fixed. A lot of people keep talking about, like De Zerbi didn't like him. Hertzler didn't like him. Potter liked him. He should go to West Ham. And this season, it hasn't been that. Hertzler said nothing but great things about him, and he's played him when he could. It's ankle injuries. Like, he's just getting hurt, and which is kind of scary at a young age. But I don't think he's going to fit into the club this year. Send him to, if he's healthy enough, send him to Celtic on loan and have him go wild in the Scottish Premiership on a team that is, top 2 of that, probably 1A to Rangers 1B, no offense. But like, just skill on that team compared to the rest of the league, he's going to be on a monster squad, and they're going to throw balls to, or get balls to him all game, and he can go wild there. And that's something I would like to see for his development.
For sure. And they can do that. Well, I mean, not that they could register him anyway, but they can do that after we play Celtic. But no, I mean, that one also could make sense just because I saw that Celtic just sold, was it Kyoto or it's Furuhashi, the striker from Japan. They just sold him to Rennes in Ligue 1. So yeah, that would make sense for sure. Surprisingly, I only have in my top 5, I only have 2 more purchases. So my list is a little bit opposite of yours. But number 5 for me is still a purchase. It's a player that we've been linked with in the past. A player that has been coached by Unai Emery. Another young player, tons of potential attacking talent. He can slot in at that left side role where we have kind of like Jacob Ramsey right now. Morgan Rogers has played over there a little bit, but I think I prefer Rogers to the middle. But the player, and he also has tactical flexibility that we could play him anywhere along the front line, is Alex Baena from Villarreal. He is just outstanding, having another fantastic season. The Yellow Submarine, I think, is in 4th in La Liga right now, or 4th or 5th. So like they're having a great year, but he's super talented. For as good as Villarreal has been playing, they're always going to be a selling club. They're very, financially small club, so they rely on those sales. I would love to see Villa kick the tires on that again in the summer times to see if there's any interest there. I think that's just a factor of I want to keep building up our attacking options. I don't know that Emi Buendia is ever really going to come back from that knee injury. I love him, and he arguably played pretty well against Monaco, but I just don't see him having the legs to run week in and week out in the Premier League or push Morgan Rogers for that attacking mid spot. So I'd rather see more competition in those places. So Alex Baena is number 5 for me.
Nice. Number 4 for me is, I'm gonna butcher this name. I've been trying to figure out how to say it all day. Tosin Adara Bayoyo.
Close enough. You can just call him Tosin.
Tosin, yeah, Chelsea center back. It's about time. We go the other way on this again. I don't think we've done it since Lamptey. Oh no, we had Levi Colwell for a little bit. He wanted to stay. I know he did. But yeah, center back getting a little bit thin for us. 27 years old. I believe the price tag was like 20 million. So I think that's a good deal for us. He's a big boy, and I think he's looking for more minutes. The only problem is, I believe recently Chelsea has said they're not going to be sellers in this window, especially at the center back position. I believe they got an injury to somebody, so I think Tosin might be up for more minutes. But I believe he's made a comment that he was honored that certain teams were after him, and I believe Brighton was in that list. So if they can make it happen, 20 million. I mean, we've already spent a lot. Might as well just get this guy in, get him in long term, and see what happens.
For sure. No, I like him a lot. It'd be interesting to see what Chelsea would actually be willing to sell him for. I know they've mentioned that they might be looking to loan Disasi from, and if they end loaning him out, they might have to hold on to Tosin. So we'll see. But yeah, good player. He would fit in nicely with you guys. Number 4 for me is another sale, and it's one that became an option just because of a player that we just recently brought in. Villa, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, announced that we had signed Andreas Garcia from Levante, 21-year-old right back, big kid, athletic. He might need like a minute to adjust, but he's really going to be more the guy to push Matty Cash for playing time. We'll probably see Costa Nedeljkovic go out on loan, hopefully, before the end of the year. He's 18. He's still a ton of promise. I like him a lot. He's just not ready to do valuable minutes yet in the Premier League. So the guy that I would like to sell is actually Matty Cash. And I think that, and I'll explain in my next other three transfers here what my total team makeup is. But I think that we can move Matty Cash on. We have, like I said, we just brought in Andreas Garcia, and we also still have Ezri Konsa that can play right back. Matty Cash has been hot or cold for us. Either he's fantastic or he's, rough around the edges. He's not the best defender in the world, but he is solid going forward. But he is also 27 years old. I think that, there is still enough meat on the bone that we can get good, a solid return on him financially. But again, as we move to get younger, moving him out and allowing Andreas into that right back spot, and even Konsa to sort of cover that, Even Bogard can play right back from time to time if we need to. We have options there. I think there's an opportunity to move Cash on this summer. So I would say let's move him on and move on to the next right back option. So Matty Cash for me, number 4.
I would take him too. If we ever moved to that 3-4-3, I'd put him as one of those wide mids.
100%.
I'd take him
And
too.
honestly, you guys could probably get. I would imagine that he's somewhere between 20 and 30 million. If 30 would be like a very high end, but somewhere in that mid 20s is probably his value at his age. So
you think a guy like that, you think he would go chase like, I'll be a backup for a title contending team?
he could. I wouldn't be surprised to see him like at a club like Atletico or something like that, where because he does have like an edge to him, and like a manager like Simeone would like loves guys that are like hustle, rough around the edges type guys. He could be a good player there. He could even like, I mean, this is being silly, but like you look at a team that's struggling for healthy defenders right now, like Real Madrid as a backup, is not far fetched, especially considering they probably might not get Davies now because he might sign a long term deal with Bayern. Carvajal is still coming back off the ACL. Are they going to sign Trent Alexander-Arnold? I don't know. So there's going to be options for him out there. Somebody's going to be looking for a right back, and the price that he'll be available for, I could see somebody being interested. So
Trent's not a real right back, but that's a discussion for another day. My number 3 is another Aaron Cashin, spelled the Irish way, Eiran. Irish guy for Irish center back for Derby, excuse me. Don't crucify me. 6 foot center back. Very, very good at the where's Derby at right now? They're League One, right?
No, they're in the championship.
Okay, yeah. So he's playing championship ball. That's just a horrible gauntlet of games in that league. Guy's really good. I like him, and the price tag I think is anywhere from like 8 to 10 million. So you want to get him in as the backup, as the fourth choice, I guess, behind Webster is the number 3 choice. I would really, really like that for depth. Have him play in the cup matches, stuff like that, and then see what you got. He's only 23. But yeah, he's another guy I'd like to see come in because he's as a plug and play guy. I think he's pretty talented.
For sure, yeah, I saw that rumor mooted in the past week. So, yeah, for sure. I know that you talked about needing to get some guys healthy and even just to have some institutional depth. Dunk is not getting any younger. Webster is not getting any younger. So, it would make sense to bring him in, even if you're bringing in Tosin. All right, number 3 for me is a player that I'd like to bring in, but on loan. I mentioned in my Aston Villa recap earlier, we are currently facing a mini crisis of central midfield. McGinn, who can play there, is out for another couple weeks. Onana, who we just bought, has been in and out with hamstring injuries all year, and Barkley right now is out for another couple weeks with his injury. So the guy I would like to bring in on loan is Dougie Luiz. He can't make the field for Juventus. He is a known commodity who knows Unai Emery's system, who can step in right away and play. Obviously, he's not going to play at Juventus. I don't think that anybody who he's been mentioned a lot for loans, right? With City, Chelsea's registered interest, and some other teams, but Villa has the space, and we need some depth in some of the center back or the center midfielder roles to bring him in on loan. Just till the end of the season, gives him an opportunity to play, lets him audition for, maybe a move in the summertime, and also helps us get over the line. So I think that it makes too much sense to not make that happen. But will it happen? I'm not going to say it's going to, but it makes too much sense for Villa right now to not at least kick the tires on it. And it would really propel us through the rest of the season. Like I said, all we have to do is play. I think after Celtic, after that final game week, I think even if he's played which he did play for Juventus in the Champions League, I think we could still register him for the knockout phase after the Celtic game, if he moves. So getting him in for that part would be huge for us. So will it happen? I don't know, but would I like to see it happen? Absolutely.
Y'all got to bring Ashley back on loan too. That's just how it works.
Oh,
Is
she
it
already
at-
said, no, it's not. It's not Ashley. It's oh, I don't know. She's gorgeous. So yeah, she already
Yeah.
said that if he moves, that she'd be open to moving wherever he goes. So I don't think
Really?
that's gonna be an issue. Yeah, I bet you that. I would imagine that they probably could either if they haven't sold already, they probably still have a place in Birmingham. So like, come on home, like for a couple of months, enjoy
Yeah.
the English sun, for sure.
So my number 2 is again one of mine bias picks. I've been pushing for this for a long time now. And he's starting to get the recognition he deserves. My number 2 is Diego Luna. You need to get him now before he becomes too expensive. MLS Young Player of the Year. I got to watch this kid play in person in El Paso many, many times. He is special. Got his nose broken in the game last night. Told Potch, I'm not coming out. Please let me keep playing. Like, that kid is a baller, man. He's got a good head on his shoulders. We were talking about the article in ESPN about, he worked a side job when he first got to Real Salt Lake just because he was bored or whatever. Really good kid. Looks like a combination of Jason Hervey and Diego Maradona. I've heard some people call him fat. He's not fat. That kid has a motor, and he's really good, and Brighton needs to get on it before he gets way too expensive. I think that kid is going to be the next big American star. Again, I am biased. Take my opinion with a grain of salt, but I love Diego Luna as a player. I think he's going to be fucking fantastic.
I'd be interested to see, like, you can't really consider anything from transfer market um as like gospel when it comes to like values, but I'd be interested to know what like an open market value is on Luna right now.
Yeah.
It's still he's still 21, like he's still
Yeah.
young. We'll see. Like there's been more and more guys moving, from MLS at that age, so definitely could be up there. Give him another year this year to really, solidify that spot.
I'm just scared of being hit. Like, if Brighton never takes notice, they're going to get hit with the today's price ain't yesterday's price.
Yeah.
So you need to get on it soon. Anyone who goes after him needs to get on it soon because it's going to go up. He's going to keep getting capped by the US, I believe, especially with like the under 23s. But I think the national team, I think he had a good showing in both matches. So the price is only going to go up from here. You need to get on it while you can.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so continuing to rearrange my roster. Like I mentioned in my first OLI, I'm selling Tyrone Mings. Pau Torres has got that spot, on lockdown, but having multiple center backs, especially if we want to keep being a European team as well, need depth there. And a guy that I am infatuated with, again, another 18-year-old. He primarily plays left back for Ajax, but he can also play that left center back, left-footed Dutch player. Second full season for Ajax. He's, like I said, he's only 18. It's Jarell Hato. He is just an outstanding player, incredibly good with the ball at his feet, which is a huge part of Unai's system. You have to be a ball playing center back to play in that system, and you have to be comfortable under pressure. Watching him play last year, and then even some of the games I got to see this year, just a really special talent. He is one that would probably be more on the expensive side. You're probably talking more like 40 or 50 million. But like I mentioned, Villa has been making good inroads in some of our profit and loss statements. And we've spent that kind of money before. I think that it would be one that would be huge for us to invest in. As much as I love Torres, he's also 27, 28. So bringing in another kid at 18 who's going to play a ton because he's already played a ton and just continue to grow in that spot would be, I think, just really smart business for us. So, you know, and especially like talking him into being like, hey, you want to play left center back with your buddy Ian Matson? You know, a couple of Dutch buddies cutting it up in the back line there. That would be ideal for me. So number 2 for me is Jarell Hato from Ajax.
Nice. My number 1 was featured on a segment we did last week. Is Jake crazy? I'm not crazy. My number 1 is Tim Weah. I'm gonna hark on this until the day I die. The similarities are there's too many similarities to how Henry entered the Premier League. Maybe I am crazy, but yeah, I want him to come to Brighton and I want him to play striker for us and just see what happens. The kid, like the genes in that kid. Obviously George Weah played before, you know, either of us really started paying attention, but the first non-European to win Ballon d'Or, the man, like if you can look up end-to-end goal, George Weah, that's the blood that's running through Tim Weah's veins right now. I don't think he's been given a fair shake at PSG or Juventus. I think both those clubs were too big of a task for him, and I think he hurt his development. Come hang out with, you know, 9th place Brighton. See what you can do, kid, and put him in that 9 role and see what happens. Number 1, Tim Weah.
I like it.
I'm not crazy.
I know you're gonna keep speaking this out loud until it happens. You know, I wish you all the best. Don't be sad if you don't get to get that Tim Weah number 9 jersey when you don't sell Pedro and don't buy Weah. But you know, by all means, it's your list. You keep dreaming. All right, so like I mentioned when I started at number 5, I only had 2 guys that I was buying and kind of cheated because I'm loaning Dougie Luiz. So that means my number 1 is a sale. You know, the 3 guys that I mentioned buying, Tyler Dibbling, Alex Baena, and Jarell Hato, you're probably looking at low end estimate 150 million to buy all 3 of those guys. And I'm really going to get probably between Matty Cash and Tyrone Mings, maybe 30 million between those 2 guys. Yeah. So I'm not generating enough. So I need to make another sale, and I need to make a big one because it needs to be a good chunk. And the player who fits the bill, as far as big money, the right profile, right age profile, and really in a position where we just bought Daniel Malen and we don't necessarily need to have 3 in that role. For me, the number 1 on my list is the sale of Ollie Watkins.
Oh, that's not who I thought it was. I thought you were going the other way.
No. So here's my thought, right? And I've talked about this a little bit on my list going forward, but the guys I want to move out are in that 27 and older profile, right? Like they're on the higher end of age wise. Ollie Watkins is at 28. So in his prime for a striker, he could bring in anywhere between 70 to $80 million for us. I think in the open market, depending on how the striker market looks, right? But I think that's just his value. It allows Duran what he wants, which is pretty much an unimpeded path to start. Malen is good enough that he can play understudy or cover some of the other attacking roles. But selling Watkins makes the most sense. Duran's 20 years old. I know he's not the same mentality, but neither was Ollie Watkins at his age. And I think that for all of the things that John Duran lacks, I think that the passion and the immaturity is coachable because I think he just wants to play and he wants to score goals. And if he's given, you know, that path and the ability to do that in Champions League, you know, I think that he could be the out and out starter for us going forward. So in order to fund all my other purchases and sort of build out my roster in a way that we're filling holes and getting younger, I got to move on a big piece. And for me, that's Ollie Watkins. So that's where I went with number 1.
Yeah, I thought it was going to go the other way. I thought Duran would probably, just from the age standpoint, I thought Duran would net more money, but it does make sense for the long-term thing to just hand over the keys to Duran and see what happens.
For sure. I have seen the only way that math would change for me, and I've seen this a little bit rumbling wise, is that so Al Nasser just secured Cristiano Ronaldo for another 2 years or whatever, but they have a ton of extra money in an open slot. And so they are mooting the idea of just dropping the bag and getting Duran from Villa. If they offer us 9 figures, if we're over that 100 million, just so they can drop the bag and get him to come,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take that payday.
Yeah.
So like that would change the math a little bit, but I think that you talk about Watkins, like there's gonna be some striker needy clubs that would be willing to buy him and pay those fees. So in this world anyway, I'm hoping that it would be Ali. But like from my heart, like if I'm sitting right now, I still, you asked me this the other day, like who do you guys start? And I said Watkins. And I still think that right now that's the best for us, but not for the long term building of the club. He is the best thing for us this year, probably next year. But anything beyond that, I don't know. I can't say that he's better for us than Duran or anybody else. So, but all right, well, that was our top five, and honestly, that was a fun segment, a little bit different than what we normally do, but it also took us all the way to that hour mark. So I know we teased a little bit about shitting on Man United. I want to pocket that, and we'll bring in Mike for that, because I know he also loves shitting on Man United. But I did want to make sure that I left the floor open if in case you had any rants, anything you wanted to touch on before we let your family go from watching this video.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show an image. I know it's not the best production value, but I'm gonna show an image real quick if everyone could see that.
Yep. Oh, the toe.
Fuck VAR. It's not doing the job it was supposed to do anymore. That is just ridiculous. And I see people out there defending, saying when the mechanism works the way the mechanism was designed to work. No, man. Like, no. Like, that's just silly, man. That's just silly. And I don't remember exactly how long that decision took, but judging by the way it looks, it probably took a long fucking time. So, no, man. That's ridiculous.
I wonder if they're going to still show us pictures when automated offsides comes into play. Like, are you still going to, like, I mean, it almost seems like smarter not to show us the pictures in most cases. It just pisses people off. Like, I almost get angry when they start drawing lines. I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, this is going to happen again. Yeah, I mean, I think that like I said, I've kind of repeated this for like last year now, but I'm just kind of like, you know what? I am here for human error at this point. Like I appreciate or lower level soccer, right? Like USL Championship. I love that there's no VAR yet in that league, and up until the last couple of years, the FA Cup was a safe spot, but VAR is creeping in there as well now too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I miss the uninhibited, like the ball goes in the net and there's no like pause, wait to look at the referee type thing. It's a goal or it's not. And largely the stuff that it was supposed to eliminate. Honestly, I feel like most people people that wanted VAR were everyone else in Europe that hates France because of Thierry Henry and the goal that he scored against Ireland.
Yeah.
Like that, like Diego Maradona, like there's some of the stuff that we really wanted to eliminate were they're stories now. They piss people off at the time, but they're stories now. But they're so few and far between. You count them on one hand. Like oh, that was a clear and obvious. Like it really changed the game. Some of the stuff that we get down to now that they'll change the game or they'll stop the game. Like as soon as something happens, they're like, don't worry, VAR is already looking at it. I'm like, fucking hell, like here we go, we're gonna stop, and then like all that sort of stuff. It just like it really kills the momentum of the game, and for that point, I dislike it. So it's not going anywhere. I know that, but you're right. That is incredibly frustrating. That picture, the toe. Go follow Jake on Blue Sky for more of these aggravating photos. I know Mike tweeted this week. He messaged us this week that the X, Twitter, what have you account is dead.
Yeah.
And I think that's, from the three, speaking for the three of us, that's just for our own mental health, to get off of Twitter. But Jake's still out there on Blue Sky, so go follow him there for more fun reaction stuff to VAR and stuff like that.
In Instagram as well, but that's more me just shit posting about politics. But yeah, you brought up, I'll end it with this. You brought up USL Championship, and I say this as a fan of a team that has been screwed by some really bad decisions. Like, we couldn't buy a penalty forever. Pretty much in the history of this, of El Paso Locomotive, we've been screwed out of penalties. But I can't name, I know that we have, but I can't name a specific instance of when it happened because I just forget. It's one of those things where it's like, well, they can't review it. Fuck it. We got screwed, whatever. And I can't remember a certain game where this has happened. I know that it has happened and it'll continue to happen because, there's human error, but it's just, VAR is too much. And it's a much more enjoyable experience without it, in my opinion now. So be a proper football man. Say no to VAR.
There you go.
All right, Jimmy.
Till next time.
Later.